Hey everybody, welcome to Game Time. My name is JJ, and today we're going to review Wuppo on the PS4 that's out on November 10th of 2017, published by Soedesco. And you know what? You're looking at this game and you're like, oh, it looks kind of cheesy, it looks kind of corny, but goddamn, this game is fun as hell, okay? You play as this little blob in a blobby world that, can jump, double jump, do a whole bunch of things. It's like almost a little Metroidvania type game. And what happens is you are a very clumsy little, blob that spills ice cream everywhere, even being told that, don't do that. So you get kicked out of your house, pretty much, So it's you out there in a big Metroidvania type world where you control a little blob that can equip all kinds of different abilities. You get, a different little gun, and there's a cute little story to go along with it, And this little guy takes your TV. Like, I wouldn't take that in the first place. Like, if somebody came and, if I was passed out and somebody robbed me and took my TV, my pocket TV, I'd be pretty upset too. So, like, for me, it's like a personal vendetta. I want my TV back right away. So that's like my first quest. It's probably not, the main deal, but you look at this game and you're like, the controls are tight, that it's nice and smooth, it's nice and colorful. I find that you don't get a whole lot of hints about where to go, but you're not lost for very long, because there's, as like Metroidvania games, you do figure out where to go just by exploring. Sometimes there's a secret passage, or you need an ability to do a certain thing or whatnot. So you just keep exploring and you keep finding new abilities. You get your gum gun, which is your little, it's your paintball gun, and you can use it as a weapon, and you can use it as a tool for all kinds of different things. You can knock things over, use it to break walls. There's save points all over the place, but as you explore, you'll find different areas with different enemies and different little bosses, and there is a collection inside your menu where you can actually collect and see what you've accomplished and everything. And it is a fun game, very easy to get used to the controls. I didn't really have too many issues, when it came to that, but I did die a few times, just kind of getting the hang of controlling my little blobby dude, and kind of getting used to the physics of using my gun properly, to block things and not running into enemies a whole lot. So far, the bosses that I've fought weren't too crazy or anything. They little patterns, it's your typical type of pattern type game, But you collect items, and they're all useful in their own little way. See how I'm like wearing the little helmet on my head, the little bucket, it doesn't really do too much as far as I know, but you can get up here and get into the house so that you can continue on. But there's all kinds of little things that I like to interact with, which is really neat in a game like this. So you can use your gum gun to destroy, certain things in the environment, solve puzzles with, typical Metroidvania style item finding, because you're like, oh, you can see the item right there, but you can't reach it right now, I like the layouts, I like the backgrounds, they're really neat, they fit the game very well, when it comes to this. If you slapped Alucard from Symphony of the Night instead of that blob, I'd be happy, because of the style of game it is, Controls are tight, especially for jumping. It's really important for this kind of game for me. Symphony of the Night, like I said, I reference it a lot because it got a lot of things correct, and I really like that game. So when it comes to platforming like this, you want good controls, right? Nobody's perfect when it comes to platforming. You're always going to mess up at one point or another, but having that feeling of, my controls are as good as they're gonna get, and they're really good, they're tight, they're, little taps mean a lot, where you're not gonna fall off a platform because you do a little tap or something, that's just me. But Wuppo's got a lot of these little puzzles where you're trying to dodge certain spikes while not getting hit or whatnot. But you use the environment, and sometimes you got good luck, sometimes you don't. If you die, you go back to your last save point. It's not too big of a deal. I can see that there's going to be a lot of variety in these kinds of puzzles as you unlock new abilities and unlock new skills and new areas, of course. But to me, it was a blast to really get into this. I need to really play it more, but for the review, I played, a good hour or so of the game just to get my initial thoughts on, the controls as authentic as I can get as a first time actually trying this game, right? So you start finding shortcuts as you go through the game. This little house out obviously brings you back up once you've cleared certain areas, but you need to unlock other areas to be able to keep going. So you need to figure out a way around, or whatnot. So you can map your controls, which is really neat because I'm not really big on having L1 as my jump. I put it to square, makes things so much easier for myself. So puzzles tend to really kind of sit there for a minute and you're like, oh, okay, what do I gotta do here? Oh, okay, I get it. It doesn't usually take you too long to figure out the little puzzle to get around something. You start figuring out what does damage to you and what doesn't, and just typical platforming, you start to get good at it. You start to figure out what you can use in the environment to try to get up in certain places and everything, and eventually you are going to fight enemies. Now, you can choose to fight them or you can choose to not fight them. That's completely up to you, and different things will happen depending on what you choose. And it's up to you. They give you money and they give you health, but there are it affects certain things in the story, right? So it's fun. You can buy items. You can find the item store. You can buy items. And at first I wasn't sure, how exactly it worked, to tell you the truth. So I'd go in and I'd pick the item I wanted, I'd go back out, and then I'd cancel out, and I guess you got to give them your money after you've selected everything, right? So it took me a couple tries to figure that out, but other than that, little hiccups where I was just like kind of scratching my head going, what just went wrong there, but very simple to understand after trying it out a couple times. Enemies do give you health, but I didn't find it very useful yet to really buy a lot of the items. And like I said, there are certain amounts of boss battles and certain amount of collectibles that you can do, and depending on what you choose to do, sometimes you'll either have to fight these guys or sometimes you won't. It just depends if you kill their people or not. But I didn't find the fighting to be too difficult. I wish there was a dodge button that I knew about. Maybe I'm just, maybe I was blind or something and I didn't see it there, but I did not, notice a dodge button. I really would have liked one for when you're jumping around and stuff. So I don't know, maybe it's just me. So I got here at this area and I didn't have enough money for them, so it kind of threw me for a loop there for a second, because I was like, okay, well, I guess I can't do this right now because I spent my money. Damn, eh? So I had to go do other stuff. But the controls are nice. I kept fighting stuff. I kept getting more money, kept getting health, and eventually you start figuring out where you need to really go and what you need to do. And mostly for the first half hour, you're just getting kind of used to the world and where everything kind of is, because it's Metroidvania. You got to kind of know where the secrets that you need to go and find now that you have certain abilities. So you start exploring a little bit. You start figuring out little puzzle elements like this room where you got to put certain things on the pedestal as you find them to progress in the story. So up to that point, that's pretty much what you're doing, is you're looking for those specific items to put on those pedestals, right? So without spoiling too much, you're going to be going out and about and looking for this. And this little area is a good example for puzzles. The little snail is going up to his little hut, and you got to get to the hut before he gets there. And as you might have noticed, this was my first try going there, so I failed horribly. So at least grab the item that's up top. I'm sitting there wondering what's going on, right? So I was beating the crap out of stuff. I say leveling up, sorry, out of habit. But I was getting money and everything and trying to just figure out what I need to do and figuring out, where leads to where, especially for shortcuts and everything. But there's a lot of backtracking here and there, just trying to figure out where you need to go. There's some rooms where I just don't even bother fighting the enemies because they don't fight back if you don't hit them, right? So it just makes it easier for exploring. But eventually you do get better at stuff, and you go back and you actually unlock certain items that you need to progress through the story, because you figure out, oh man, I need to get there first, and it's just that kind of game, right? So, and then you get your TV back. You just gotta, you shoot him with your gun and you get upset. He gets upset that you want it, but he wants to keep it, so he gives you a little bit of money for it. So don't, yeah, there you go. At least it gives you a little bit of money at the beginning to buy a couple things, right? So, and then you keep exploring. The world is very nice and colorful. There seems to be a night and day cycle too, as I've noticed when I was playing it, and it is a fun little game. I say the biggest thing at first is figuring out where you need to go. The controls are tight. There's no. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't even played this game before. They did a really good job on just you know getting this game out, and I'm very happy that it's coming to console. So check it out on PS4, Xbox 360 come November 10th. I'm sure if you're a big Metroidvania fan, you can get past the cutesy graphics and everything. You'll have a blast with this game. I can see why people really like it, and for what it is, it blows my mind. Peace out, happy gaming, and we'll catch you next time.